Ladies and gentlemen, let's address the elephant in the room: South Africa's energy crisis. It's no longer just an inconvenience, it's a national emergency. Load shedding, power outages, and rolling blackouts have turned a once bright nation into a country blanketed in darkness. While people joke about it, complain on social media, or laugh nervously when the lights go out, it's time to take a hard look at the situation. What caused it? What's the impact? And what does the future hold? Brace yourselves, because this story of South Africa's energy debacle is both shocking and, dare I say, long overdue. South Africa, for decades, prided itself on having one of the most advanced power systems in Africa. Eskom, a state-owned power utility, once held the title of the electricity powerhouse of Africa. The country generated enough electricity to meet its domestic needs while exporting surplus power to neighboring nations. But beneath the surface, a ticking time bomb was waiting to explode. The seeds of this energy crisis were planted decades ago. Let's take it back to the 1990s, when post-apartheid South Africa saw a massive surge in energy demand. With a new democratic era, millions of people who had been excluded from basic services were now entitled to electricity. While this was undoubtedly a positive move, the state didn't plan adequately for the rapid increase in demand. Eskom, which had always relied on coal to power the nation, failed to invest in upgrading its infrastructure. The aging power plants that had served the country for decades were deteriorating, but they kept running. Fast forward to the mid-2000s, the cracks were showing. Eskom had already warned the government about a possible supply crisis back in 1998, but the necessary action was not taken. By 2008, the situation escalated, and for the first time, South Africa experienced rolling blackouts, which was the first public sign that something was seriously wrong. Today, load shedding has become a household term in South Africa. It's the not-so-friendly reminder that the energy system is broken. Load shedding, simply put, is the deliberate cutting off of electricity to certain areas for a specific period to prevent the entire grid from collapsing. While this practice may sound like a stopgap measure, it's been a reality in South Africa for nearly 2 decades. At its worst, South Africa can endure stage 6 load shedding, where power cuts last for up to 12 hours a day. That's half of your day spent without electricity. And we're not just talking about individual homes. This affects industries, hospitals, schools, and the economy as a whole. In 2022 alone, the country endured more than 200 days of load shedding, with an estimated stage 8 load shedding, a nightmarish scenario with 16 hours of blackouts, lurking on the horizon if things don't change. You may wonder why, in the 21st century, a country like South Africa is struggling with such basic infrastructure. The answer is not simple, but we can break it down into several major factors. Aging infrastructure. Most of South Africa's coal-fired power stations are over 40 years old. They were designed to run efficiently for 30 years. So you do the math. We're overworking machines that should have been retired or replaced long ago. Eskom is desperately trying to keep these plants running, but breakdowns are frequent. Mismanagement and corruption. Eskom, once the pride of the nation, has been brought to its knees by years of poor management, political interference, and corruption. The power utility is $400 billion in debt. Mismanagement of funds, overpriced contracts, and outright theft have crippled its ability to maintain, let alone upgrade, its infrastructure. Corruption scandals involving high-ranking officials have led to a collapse of trust in the system. This is where South Africa has truly failed. Despite knowing the problem, greed has taken precedence over solutions. Delays in new power projects. South Africa's efforts to transition to renewable energy have been slow. The Medupi and Kusile power stations, 2 massive coal-fired projects intended to alleviate the pressure on the grid, have been plagued by delays, poor construction, and massive cost overruns. Both projects have been running years behind schedule, and even when operational, they haven't delivered the power output expected. Coal dependency. A staggering 90% of South Africa's electricity is generated from coal, making it one of the most coal-reliant countries in the world. While coal is cheap, it's dirty and unsustainable. Environmental regulations are tightening, and coal supply is diminishing, but the country is still dragging its feet on transitioning to cleaner energy sources like solar and wind. Sabotage and vandalism. Believe it or not, sabotage and theft of cables, transformers, and other critical infrastructure have also contributed to South Africa's energy woes. Eskom has reported incidents where entire substations are stripped for copper, further compounding the problem. Power outages don't just leave people in the dark, they come with massive economic repercussions. The South African economy, already battered by unemployment, inflation, and slow growth, is being strangled by the energy crisis. According to estimates, load shedding costs the economy about R1 billion per day. In a year with significant blackouts, the total cost can be as high as R150 billion. Manufacturing industries, which rely heavily on a stable power supply, have been the hardest hit. Factories are forced to shut down for hours at a time, leading to lost production, delayed orders, and lost revenue. Businesses, from small corner stores to large corporates, have had to invest in backup generators, inverters, and solar panels just to keep operations running. The agriculture sector has also felt the pinch. Farmers relying on electricity for irrigation and cold storage are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain productivity, which directly affects food prices. South African households, too, have had to deal with higher costs, whether it's from spoiled food during outages or the extra cost of running generators. But here's the real kicker. Unemployment, already sky-high at 32.9% as of 2023, has only worsened because businesses can't afford to keep staff without consistent electricity. Jobs are being lost, livelihoods are crumbling, and South Africa is inching closer to an economic precipice. Now, let's take a quick detour up the continent to Nigeria. South Africans have long referred to Nigeria as the Generator Republic, due to its notorious reliance on backup generators to power homes and businesses. But if we're being honest, South Africa is rapidly becoming a member of the same club. In 2022, South Africa imported over 2 million liters of diesel per day just to power backup generators. Generators are now as common as braais in many households. If anything, we may need to rethink who deserves the title of Generator Republic in Africa. For years, South Africans joked about Nigeria being the Generator Republic. But look at Nigeria now. Despite its own long-standing struggles with energy infrastructure, Nigeria has been taking steps forward. Lagos, the heartbeat of Nigeria, is now witnessing significant strides in solar and gas power generation. Nigeria's private sector has adapted, investing in energy solutions that have seen businesses run smoothly even when the grid falters. It's a model of resilience that we can learn from. In fact, calling Nigeria the Generator Republic is fast becoming outdated, while South Africa's over-reliance on generators is the new reality. Nigeria has shown that through resilience and private innovation, even a country plagued by power challenges can begin to transform. So let's give credit where it's due. The situation seems grim. There are some potential solutions on the horizon. The government has finally acknowledged the depth of the crisis and has outlined several strategies to tackle the energy shortage. South Africa has one of the best climates for solar and wind energy, and yet it has barely scratched the surface in harnessing these resources. The government has committed to increasing the share of renewable energy in the energy mix from 10% to 30% by 2030. Solar farms and wind power projects are gradually coming online, but progress has been slow. The potential is massive, but the investment needs to be serious and sustained. Independent power producers, IPPs. The private sector is being brought in to help alleviate the load on Eskom. IPPs can produce and sell electricity directly to the grid. This is a positive step, But regulatory hurdles have made it difficult for these projects to get off the ground. The government is encouraging the use of decentralized energy sources like rooftop solar panels and battery storage systems for homes and businesses. Many South Africans have already taken matters into their own hands, installing solar power and inverters to escape Eskom's grip. In fact, the solar industry in South Africa is booming as citizens look for ways to become energy independent. Perhaps the most difficult challenge is reforming Eskom. The power utility's debt and inefficiency are too large to ignore. President Cyril Ramaphosa's government has committed to breaking Eskom into 3 separate entities: generation, transmission, and distribution. The hope is that this will improve efficiency and attract more investment in each area. There is some talk of expanding South Africa's nuclear energy program. While nuclear is expensive to build, it provides a stable, clean, and reliable source of electricity. The Coburg Nuclear Power Station currently provides about 5% of South Africa's energy, but expanding nuclear power remains controversial due to safety concerns and costs. South Africa is at a critical juncture. The energy crisis South Africans are experiencing is not just a blip. It's the result of decades of neglect, corruption, and poor planning. But every crisis brings an opportunity for change, and South Africa has the resources to turn things around. Whether it's harnessing the abundant sunshine, investing in wind power, or reforming Eskom, the solutions are there. What is needed is the political will, financial investment, and a sense of urgency to move forward. If South Africa does not act quickly, South Africa risks falling further into economic stagnation and might not only share the title of Generator Republic with Nigeria, but surpass it. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Join the conversation in the comments. Do you think South Africa will take the title Generator Republic from Nigeria? We'd love to hear your thoughts.